Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Very Biased Opinions. It is finally the last day of the never-ending Premier League season for 2020-2021. It is round 38. Thank goodness that we are done and we can have a little break from this league. But we've got a round of predictions to get on with, and we're going to do things a little bit differently this time. We are not going to end with everybody's favourite club, Man United. No! We're going to end with the only thing that's worth playing for, and they are those Champions League or Europa League places. But we are starting with the Red Devils for a change. That is right. It is Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Manchester United. So, Tom, I thought I'd ask you a couple of questions about each team, if that's okay.
Yes.
But we'll try and do it as quick fire as we can. So, Man United, obviously your team. Just quickly sum up, how do you think this has been a good season or a bad season?
I mean, they're going to come second in the league. Bruno Fernandes has been fantastic. Edinson Cavani has been everything as advertised. Paul Pogba has finally kind of slotted in, and when he's played, has almost always been a quality player, which has been really useful. Dean Henderson has kind of proved himself that he's looking like the number one outside of a mauling recently. I think... Quite literally. I think on the whole, it has been a productive season for Man United. And whilst they failed to challenge for the title, I think second place, Europa League final, if they can win the Europa League, I think it will count as a successful season.
Now, that leads into my second question. Other than getting off the Glazers' back and giving them a bit of a rest, those poor, lovely men, what do Man United need to do to take it from second in the Premier League to challenging for the title again?
Personally, I'm not 100% sold that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has the tactical nous to bring Man United into the modern style of football. I don't think we play a brand of football like City, like Liverpool. And I mean this, like, you feel like even Marcelo Bielsa would give United at least a set style that was harder to play against, whereas the way they're playing right now is a bit like the way England play in this. We've always got two holding midfielders. We're always looking to defend more than attack, and it doesn't quite go with the United style. So I think we need a more expansive style of play, and we need to begin to have a more possession-based style of play instead of a hope we can get it to Bruno, and Bruno can change the whole game around us. On top of that, we probably need another striker. Harry Kane, Erling Haaland, we need one of them to come in because Cavani's no spring chicken, and I don't think we can count on him to play 70 matches next season. And if we had another striker, then quite possibly, especially in games when we're not winning, we can put two world-class strikers on up front and not have to constantly rely on like Mason Greenwood or Anthony Martial to do it, or Rashford. So I think a world-class striker is in need. We could use one more defensive centre midfielder, and we could always use a centre back.
Right. Thank you. The others shouldn't be as long as that.
No.
Man United is Tom's team, so he is entitled to talk for as long as he wants to about them. So, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Tom, obviously the biggest thing, couple of things. The biggest thing about them, it's not been a great season, but we know the reason is they looked a completely different side since Jimenez was injured, and they've had some other injury to key players as well. Do you think there's any chance Nuno might leave and go to another club?
I mean, I don't follow Wolves closely, but I don't think he will. He's been given carte blanche at Wolves. It's his team. They play his style. He gets his players in. It's very Portuguese-centric. I can't see him leaving.
Flip side of that, do you see anyone coming in for Jimenez?
Not after the head injury. If anything, he leaves next January once he's proven he can still play football, because that's a pretty scary injury, and you're never sure how a player will acclimatize after getting his head kicked in.
That's very true. I just like the term "head kicked in." Was he kicked, or was he kind of a clash of heads with David Luiz?
I think it might have been a clash of heads, to be fair.
Headed in. Right, score prediction then, Tom.
Man United 4, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1.
I'm going to go over 1-1 draw. I still think Man United will be focused on the Europa League, and they'll be probably resting a lot of players for that. Won't want any more injuries, and they don't look as good with Maguire at the back. And I know you're not a massive fan of him, but that just seems to be a fact. And so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Fulham versus Newcastle United.
Fulham relegated, nothing to play for here. Newcastle done a good job in the end, staying up, even though there was times where they were pretty poor themselves this season. How long are Fulham going to keep playing this merry-go-round of up, down, up, down, up, down?
How long is a piece of string? I think that they'll definitely come up next year. I think Scott Parker looks like he's going to keep the job. He's clearly talented enough to do it, and hopefully they'll try and pull a Norwich and stay up next year.
Yeah, I mean, I know you probably won't know this, but they do have like an owner who is very much focused on other projects, and Fulham seems to be the third behind the Jacksonville Jaguars and the wrestling company that he owns called AEW, which just seems to be throwing money and money and money at, whereas Fulham just seems to be like the kind of, if you can imagine, which is weird to say for a Premier League club, but they do seem to be the poor relation out of the three businesses that they have. Scotty Parker.
Yeah.
Has he done a good job?
I think he's done a perfectly reasonable job. I mean, he was pretty much kicked in the balls at the beginning of the season by the chairman, who I think is the son of the owner, coming out and basically criticizing the entire back line and saying none of them are good enough to play there. And he had to come out and be like, that's what we've got. So it seems like a rash
Tony
thing
Khan,
to
that's
say
who I
out
was
loud.
talking about. Yep.
Yeah, it seems really rash. I think he's done a perfectly good job. I think we said at the beginning of the season, Fulham didn't look good enough to stay up. The fact that they made even a slight go of it mid-season is credit to him, and he's definitely good enough to manage the Championship and get given another chance to the slightly better team in the Premier League.
Newcastle United then, Tom. Right, main question is Steve Bruce, is he there next season or not?
Yeah, he's already said he's there next year. He wants a contract extension, and God knows they're not getting rid of him until they get new owners.
Yep, so expect the same again, Newcastle fans, of periods of good play, a long period of drought, and then maybe some good scrambling performances at the end. Callum Wilson, any chance he gets an England call-up?
Absolutely not. Don't play with me. No.
There we go. Nothing more on Newcastle. Score prediction, please.
I think it's going to be a dour 1-1 draw.
I think Newcastle will win this. I think they're in good form. I think it'll be a 2-0 Newcastle win. I think those bottom three sides in the Premier League have been some of the worst we've seen in recent years. They've been so far, maybe
almost ever.
They've been so far adrift of all the rest. But we move on to the next match, Thomas.
Arsenal versus Brighton and Hove and Albion.
I'm not going to touch on Arteta. It's so boring. I can't be asked to talk about his tactics or anything like that because we'll just be here for forever and a day. Right. I think it looks like Arsenal was stealing up on the rails here to have this end of the season that papers over the cracks. I think they'll be better off without Europe next season. What about yourself?
100%. The less matches you play, the more you can concentrate on the league, the more, and we talked about this with West Brom, the more you get like 7 days in between matches just to prepare for the next game, as opposed to when you're stuck in Europe and they're playing a game every 2 to 3 days.
Name me one player, Tom, that comes into Arsenal that they could get that would make them better.
Sean Dyche.
Well, I suppose that's better than what I thought he was going to say. I thought he was going to say Mbappe. So, there we go. Right. Brighton Hove now, again, another club. God, we could be here all day. The great white hope of English football, Graham Potter. Has he actually moved Brighton forward?
Absolutely not. They've been the exact same side, and they've actually only looked good this season once they got afraid of being caught by Fulham and they started actually concentrating on set pieces and scoring them, which is where most of their goals have come from at the end of the year.
So what do they have to do to move out of this always fighting relegation?
Firstly, they need to play to their strengths. I know too much about Brighton. They need to play to their strengths. They need to know that they're good in the air. They need to know that their set pieces are good. They need to stop deciding they're going to play this dumbass expansive play, but they don't have a striker at the end of it anyway. And they desperately need a goal scorer. They need to go down to the Championship and spend £30 million on an Ivan Toney or someone like that and bring in a player that we know can score goals but isn't in the Premier League. Because you want to buy a Premier League goal scorer, it's $70 million, and they don't have that sort of money.
Yep. Right. Brighton usually have the little Indian side over Arsenal. So what's the score prediction on this one?
Yeah, I love it when Brighton play Arsenal. But I am kind of worried that Arsenal are going to end the year on fire. So Arsenal 2, Brighton and Hove Albion 1.
I mean, you take City out of it. Arsenal have been my team of the year. I'm going for an Arsenal win, 3-1 to Arsenal.
Leeds United versus West Bromwich Albion.
They've been incredible. They've been fantastic. And Leeds haven't been that bad either.
I knew it.
No, it has been. I think actually we predicted Leeds to finish around about 10th. So kudos to us in our Premier League prediction. They have been a joy to watch pretty much all the way through the season. Any thought that Bielsa might be tempted away by another club?
The Bielsa situation seems weird. There's always noise he might leave, and mid-season there were some very loud Leeds fans clattering that you shouldn't be at the club and he was going to get them relegated, despite
there were some quiet ones as well. You just couldn't hear them.
They're 28 points clear of that. They could still end above Arsenal. They're guaranteed top 10 finish. If Bielsa leaves, it's due to something that isn't football related, or it's due to Barcelona deciding they don't want Koeman and they want an expansive, attractive football manager.
Yeah, I remember in November time, I was listening to the radio and Leeds were on a bad run. And I remember someone said, if Leeds don't win the next game, you've got to get rid of Bielsa. And it was like a spit the tea out moment. Like, what are you talking about? But that is just football fans in a nutshell, isn't it? When it's your club, you can't think rationally about it. God damn you, Carl Robinson.
I think they might be, like, as far as neutral teams outside of United, they might be my favourite team to watch. The way they get forward is
I think
unreal.
Everybody would agree with you on that, Tom. They are a breath of fresh air. Right, quickly, Bamford, England team.
Yes, 100%. He should be there.
Big Sam, tarnish his legacy?
No. Don't think the legacy thing's even a conversation. I don't think in 20 years when we talk about Sam Allardyce, if for some reason we talk about him, you and I are going to be like, oh, well, they got relegated with West Brom, didn't he? So,
yeah, well, it's the same thing I'm going to ask you about Fulham, really, because they are another classic yo-yo side. What do they do to bounce back from this bad season?
The thing is that their club is through and through a championship side. Like the players are championship players. They have too many mistakes in them for the Premier League and not enough class up front. But they have a bunch of talented footballers who aren't bad at football. That's just a step too far for them. And when you look at the teams that bottom the Premier League in Burnley, Brighton, Newcastle, somehow Southampton have dropped down there, Palace, they ooze Premier League talent. Like they do. And the teams that don't always ooze it, like Burnley, are so well managed and so well drilled and play a certain style. West Brom will probably get promoted as a top 2 side next season, and we'll probably see a slightly improved version of them. But you're right, this is the worst bottom 3 we may have ever seen.
They're usually a side to me, West Brom, that you could never really name any of their players. Like they're whether they're in the top of the Championship or whether they're at the bottom of the Premier League, they're almost just like there. They never seem to have anyone like that exciting.
I can't name a single player. I can't.
Aussie Ardiles. What's your score then?
Does Lookman play for them or Fulham? Plays for Fulham, doesn't he?
Lookman plays for Fulham.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to go Leeds United 4, West Brom 0.
Yeah, I'll go. I think West Brom will get a goal. I'll go for 3-1 to Leeds.
Champions elect. Manchester City host the third worst team in Liverpool, Everton.
Are they champions elect?
I was supposed to not elect. Champions.
I liked it though. It sounded good. We'll keep it in. Right, yeah. Despite them seemingly trying to lose every game now from here till the end of the season, I think the obvious question is, who does City sign then? Kane, Haaland, Mbappe, Sancho? Who are they going to get?
I don't think Mbappe is coming to England. I think if he goes anywhere, he's going to Spain. He's going to go to a Real Madrid or a Barcelona because they're going to maximize his star potential, and he is the best player on earth right now. So I see them getting Haaland personally. Him and Kane are going to cost the same, but Haaland is so much younger, and he could just be such a blunt instrument for City. But if I'm honest, I don't see Pep signing him because Pep doesn't like strikers. Never has never played with the striker he cared for, had Zlatan and didn't even start him in every game.
Yeah.
I just keeps going the way he is.
Zlatan's a bit unique, isn't he? But I think he did get, Aguero was a pretty good servant under Pep for a long, long time, scored a lot of goals for him. But so with that, if they don't sign another striker, can they get away with it next season without playing a striker and win the league?
I feel like this is a really weak Premier League season. The bottom clubs offered nothing. But I mean, City are going to win the league with at most 86 points, and that is just no one's even close, and they're on 86 points. It's been a really poor season. Third place might not even get to 70 points this season.
Yeah. And again, there's reasons for it. It's been a ridiculous schedule. It's been relentless, and teams have struggled with that over the course of the season, and City have been the most consistent, and they've even taken their foot off the gas for the final 5 or 6 games. So, but do you think they can get away with that again next season, or do you think they? Okay.
the midfield is just oozing in just world-class talent.
Everton then, Ancelotti, not really finished. I think they would have hoped to finish a little bit higher. At times they were, but I guess that's kind of where they are as a club. Do you think there's any chance that Calvert-Lewin might go anywhere?
I don't think Calvert-Lewin's going anywhere. I don't think Ancelotti's going anywhere. I think most of the Everton team, I think it will be addition, not subtraction over the summer.
Well, that was my second question about Ancelotti, so it's pretty much answered it. Here you go, 2 for 1. Right, score then, Tom.
I'm going to have to go with City. I can't see them losing 2 on the bounce. That just seems sacrilegious. City to win 2-0.
I'm just going to go with an Everton win. I think City are completely just checked out, and they're just all about this Champions League, and it really, I think he's just going to rest a load of players, and Everton are pretty good away from home, finish the season strong, going for a 2-1 Everton win.
And a match we all wish wasn't happening. Sheffield United host Burnley.
Right, my question is about Sheffield United's ex-manager. How much of a disgrace do you think it is that he is stopping the Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight?
I can't believe he's demanded 20 million quid from him for it, really. I mean, Chris, come on.
You've been really poor, Sheffield United. The only question I'm just going to ask, Tom, is do you think that they're going to bounce back next season? Do you think they'll be challenging at the top of the Championship, or do you see them struggling?
I think Sheffield United were a product of Chris Wilder. I think if Chris Wilder was still at the club, you knew that next season they'd be fighting tooth and nail, and they'd at least be in the promotion spaces. This club is devoid of talent. I can't see a single player staying in the Premier League, and I think that's a pretty damning indictment on them as a team. They're aged. No, I don't think they're up next year. I think they're mid-table in the Championship.
Tom, my main question about Burnley is regarding their owners. Do you think that they are going to get bored with Dyche and his tactics, and do you think they're going to have delusions of grandeur and they're going to end up a bit like Blackburn?
I do worry about that, especially because they've mortgaged the club up to the hilt to do this, and every position's worth not just 1 million anymore, but 5 million or something insane, and they are going to end basically as close to the bottom as you can get without getting relegated. They're pretty much guaranteed 17th place, and I worry for Sean. But everyone who watches this channel knows that we are the biggest Sean Dyche proponents on earth. So I really hope that it's not a problem for him, and I hope that they put this money that they promised into the club, and he's actually able to sign a couple new decent players to possibly bring the club forward, because he's good enough to manage them. So
absolutely, it'd be very, it's kind of that cusp between exciting times and terrifying times for Burnley fans. So give me a score prediction in this one, please.
I have got Burnley to win this match 2-0. Yeah,
I'm going to go for a 1-0 Burnley win. I just think that Sheffield United, they pulled out a pretty decent win last time out against was it Everton? But I don't see them winning their final home game in the Premier League.
West Ham United versus Southampton.
So the dream fell away for top 4 for West Ham. They've had too many sticky results lately, and but they did get a good result today, 3-1 win. And do you think they've been in this situation before where they've got in the Europa League places? I think last time was maybe under Pellegrini, and it kind of messed them up for the next season. Do you think the same thing might happen for Moisey?
It's tough. I hope not, because he's managed in Europe before, and he's actually managed European sides as well, so he should be good at this. They have a relatively large squad, and this is getting off topic mildly, but it depends if they sign another striker. If they sign a striker that can score goals, no, it won't knock them off kilter. If they can't, and it's all on Antonio anyway, and you add 20 matches to their schedule, 100%. It's gonna knock them about, and top 10 might be a stretch.
See anyone coming in nicking Declan Rice?
Declan Rice, Bowen, Antonio are 3 players I think a lot of teams will be looking at. They're lucky they've got Dawson and Lingard sewn up. Fabianski's in goal. But the 3 I mentioned earlier, and Declan Rice could end up at Man United as well. I mean, that fire has been burning for what feels like a year now, and United are in need of a Fred replacement to sit next to McTominay. And maybe, I'm totally off topic here, but maybe Rice is the answer, because then you can play 2 defensive midfielders, but Declan Rice can drive a team forward when he wants to.
I disagree with that strongly. Look, I mean, Southampton is such a basket case of a season. At times, they actually topped the league at one point this season, if you can remember all the way back, and then they go and lose 9-0 to Man United and go on this horror show run. I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess King Ralph's going to be there next season. Or what do they need to do to kind of be a bit more consistent?
It's defensively. So they have the third worst defense in the league. Only West Brom and Sheffield have conceded more goals, and like
Which
Palace,
Sheffield?
United.
Oh, okay.
But
In a Manchester accent.
It's the best I can do. I'm American. They really need to improve.
Say it like you'd say Upman Nakano.
United.
That's better.
Better. Sheffield United. Okay, we've gone totally off track here.
I know, it's better. Go on.
They need to improve defensively. They need to probably bring another center back. It's tough because they look so good when they're good and so bad when they're bad. But I can't see Ralph leaving unless they're in the relegation zone for an extended period. Yeah,
it's a difficult one, isn't it? Again, I agree completely what you say there. They're far too good to be down the bottom of the league, but they just proved they've not got the strength in depth. Maybe they just need a bit more depth because injuries did cripple the spine for times during this season, and they didn't have any replacements to come in. So I don't see Hasenhüttl going anywhere. So I think Southampton are in pretty good hands under him, at least for next season. What is your prediction for this one?
I have West Brom winning this game 3-1.
Well, Sam Allardyce will be delighted, but I assumed you meant West Ham. I am going to go for a West Ham win as well. I'm going to go for a 2-0 West Ham win. Right, we finally got all the games that are kind of meaningless out of the way. There's still some Europa League places going on there, we know. But just want to give a shout out to our Patreons. Tom is just going to quickly rattle off the Patreon backers.
PJ Simpson, Matthew Bowden, Grandstand Betters, and Robert Allen.
Thank you very much to all of you guys. The Patreon details are on the screen. They're down in the description below. We've got loads of different tiers, so go and check them out. We've got loads of different tiers you can support the channel, and they all offer their own little goodies. So just pick the tier that is the most affordable for you on your budget. But if you don't want to back us financially, then just hitting that like button, commenting, subscribing, and just generally watching the videos. We do appreciate every minute of every second of every video you're watching. Thank you for your continued support. And without wasting any more time through that very bloated promo that I just gave, let's lead into these Champions League matches, Tom.
Aston Villa versus Chelsea.
So Chelsea are in the driving seat here. You roll the clock back a week, and they'd had a bad result against Arsenal, and then they lost the FA Cup final to Leicester, and it was all looking doom and gloom, but they turned it around with a good win over Leicester in midweek, and it's crazy how the fixtures worked out in their favour. But now they look pretty much odds on to get a Champions League space now. I think the big question is, look, I'm just going to say, if they lose the Champions League final and they've lost the FA Cup final, but they get in the Champions League, is that satisfactory for Tuchel, or will he be fired?
I don't think Tuchel will be fired. I think at the beginning of the season, it felt like a top 4 finish was all Chelsea actually wanted. They'd accepted they brought in a bunch of players, and they just wanted to get top 4, get into Europe. But I don't think it's good enough. I don't think the 2 finals is good enough, and to lose both of them is good enough. I don't think, especially if they somehow manage to fail this, it's just not good enough. But Tuchel will be there next year, and I think Chelsea under him have been sensational. They've been really hard to beat, and I think they'll be challenging for the Premier League title next year if Tuchel stays.
Yeah, and again, that was the question I was going to ask. We pretty much answered it. I don't even really think they need to strengthen too much, but they are looking at bringing in some. I think they're even talking about Lewandowski. That's in talks with him to maybe come, which seems a bit of a pipe dream. But I think the likes of Havertz, the likes of Werner, the likes of Ziyech, even Pulisic, all of these guys are only going to get better under Tuchel. And that's a little bit of a frightening thought to the Premier League, that these guys haven't really hit their stride yet. Abraham, do you see him leaving?
I think he's got to leave. I think it's pretty clear that Tuchel doesn't rate him. He's played Havertz over him, he's played Werner over him. Somehow Giroud can't even get in the team again, which is madness. But yeah, I think Abraham will leave, and I think he'll go to a kind of mid-bottom tier Premier League side.
There's only one question to ask about Aston Villa. They've had a good season. It's tailed off a little bit, but generally they've been really good. Will they keep hold of Tyrone Mings? No, sorry, I read that wrong. Will they keep hold of Jack Grealish?
I mean, really quickly, Tyrone Mings has been a fantastic centre back for them this year. He's been an absolute rock at the back, and he would probably service a team like Arsenal.
Like a politician. Look at him. Answer the question, man.
I don't see Jack Grealish staying at Villa. He's been too good. He's pretty much proven he's world class. If a big club doesn't come in and buy him, then I think they've missed a trick. And if he stays and Villa keep their core together, especially players like Watkins and Mings, and is it McGinn in the middle of the park, who's just been awesome, then they will be challenging for a Europa League spot next season.
Big claim. How many goals to nil are Chelsea going to win this game by then?
2.
Yeah, I think as well. That's a classic Chelsea score, 2-0.
Yeah, 100%. They love that scoreline. Liverpool versus Crystal Palace.
Liverpool jumped into 4th place. They've taken advantage of Leicester's woes, and it looks like they are going to scramble and rescue this season. And you can't hide away from the fact that, yes, they've had a dip from where they were last season, but those injuries have crippled them, and they just haven't had any luck with them all the way through the season, and they're even getting injured players now. So they just don't seem to be able to catch a break. When all these guys come back, like your Van Dijks and your other centre-backs, are they right back up there with City then? Are they challenging stride for stride, or do they need to strengthen?
100%. They're challenging stride for stride. Actually, the hardest thing they're going to find here is Sadio Mane and Mo Salah is keeping both of them and maintaining a good relationship with them, because both of them have clearly had problems with Jurgen this season. Mo Salah has actually just given interviews about how unhappy he is with his treatment at times. Mane's refused to shake Klopp's hand post-game after big games. He's looked furious with himself and with his teammates at times. 100%. Sure. It's 100% that. And I think that the real question for Liverpool is they get Van Dijk back. They all of a sudden have pretty much the best defense in the league outside maybe City. Can they keep their attacking trio fit, healthy, and firing next season? Because they've got far better style than Man United, a much better defense, and a much better midfield when everyone's fit.
Well, you've kind of answered the question again that I was going to ask, so you've jumped ahead of yourself. But you did forget to say Arsenal in those list of great defences. And, right, who would Salah go to?
Barca. I think that has been that's another one of those fires that's been brewing for over a year now, is Barca basically making overtures to him and him.
Not Sharm el Sheikh United? Cairo Rovers? Luxor City?
Why are you coming up with these? How do you do that?
That's the only 3 places in Egypt I know.
Okay.
Or is he in denial? Crystal Palace, Roy's walking away. I thought he was going to do that this season, but he stayed on another year. That instantly says to me that I think Palace will be relegation fodder next season. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think they're going down.
Wow, so cut and dry. You don't even think the heroics of Ben Teak will keep them up?
Did you? No, just no. No, I don't think Ben Teak will keep him up. I think Zaha will finally leave, and I would not be surprised if Eze can't do it on his own.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot depends on the manager they get in, isn't it? If they try and go down the route of anything other than a bit of a steady Eddie, like Roy Hodgson. And I am actually really glad Roy Hodgson gets to walk away from this job, head held high. I always liked him, and obviously the England thing, I didn't want that to be the final thing that people remembered him as being a football manager. So I'm glad he gets to walk away with his dignity intact. But yeah, if they try to go down a bit too of a guy who's going to be a bit too cute with the football he plays, they could be in real trouble.
Palace are, not to belabor the Palace points, but they're a side that it felt like every time they got a good result, it was a mixture of Roy Hodgson literally dragging the team along with him, and Wilfried Zaha waking up from a nap and being like, oh yeah, I got to play football for an hour, and doing quite well. And then,
that's been 3 years.
Yeah, and it has been 3 years, and I just worry about any manager, you're right, that isn't... I can't name a manager off the top of my head, especially when it's available. Yes.
The ball.
Score prediction, Ian.
I think Liverpool win 3-0.
I mean, you've said it, I'm thinking it, so 4-0.
Final question. Was Roy Hodgson the best Liverpool manager ever?
Fact.
Well, very biased opinions fans, we get to the final game of the season, and who would have thought it would be these two sides in the main event?
Leicester City versus Tottenham Hotspur.
Is this match battling it out for the title? No. Is this match battling it out for Champions League? Kind of for one, but probably not. Look, Leicester City, let's start with them before we get on to Tottenham. Or do you want to do Tottenham first and we'll end with Leicester? Let's do that. Let's go with Tottenham. Look, I just can't believe that they've been this bad this year. Like, I mean, what? At the start of the season, they've got Mourinho. They've got a pretty good, strong, settled side. You'd think at the very least it'd be Champions League. And now at the end of the season, they've got Ryan Mason in charge. They've won nothing. And it looks like Harry Kane is going to be, he's almost pretty much done deal that he's going to go somewhere. So can it get any worse for Tottenham? Are they just going to slide into the mid-table next season?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they've never replaced their midfield, and as it's kind of slowly weakened, it's been a loss. I think they fired a manager who, even if you had problems with him, he probably should have seen out the year, and he definitely should have been given the chance to go toe-to-toe with Pep. You can say that they'd have been stuck with him if he'd won that game, but if he'd won them a trophy, who cares? Sack him 2 months into next year. You need these trophies. Your fans deserve these trophies. Harry Kane looks like he's going to leave. Gareth Bale ain't sticking around. Ryan Mason looks like a child that's been given a job. And I feel bad for him. I'm not saying he's not ready for this.
I think he would accept that as well, though. But yeah. George Graham won Tottenham a trophy.
Dude, what, in 1933?
Yeah, Dickety-free.
Yeah, Dickety-free. They lost today to Aston Villa, pretty much just absolutely nailed. They might not even be in the Europa League next season. I don't remember what your question was. It's Spurs being Spurs. They're mid-table next year, especially once Kane goes. All they've got at that point is Son. And do you think Son's going to stick around for that much longer?
I don't really care. I'm more interested in my second question, which is if you flick through the Oxford English Dictionary, or Cambridge, if you prefer, and you saw the word Spursy, what would you see a picture of?
Leicester City.
Oh, snap! What a failure of a season, Tom. What a failure. Failed again. This has got to be Rodgers out, surely.
I mean, the cup win basically keeps them in a job, but they were...
Oh, my God, I can't believe you really... I think it's been a great season. I know they're going to fail in this Champions League thing, but they won the FA Cup.
They did. They won the FA Cup. The Champions League failure, though, and the way it's happened from third place and sewn up basically equal on points with Man United for 2/3 of the season to probably not going to make it because they've just slipped up too many times at the end of the season is rough. But they won the FA Cup. They're a top 5 side guaranteed. They're definitely in Europe in some way next year. Yeah, it's been a good year. It's been a really good year for them.
They seem so settled as a squad and as a side, and Rodgers seems like he's building a nice little unit there, and it doesn't seem like any off-the-field problems. Surely they're just going to be same again next season. They're going to be knocking on the door for Champions League, you would think.
Yeah, I think they'll be in and around the top 6 or 7 next year, but they had a golden start to the year, and the one thing they're going to have to do again is improve. And Ayoze Perez is not a top 5 player.
Depth is a big thing for them, isn't it?
Yeah, Kelechi Iheanacho had that nice little run of goals, but in general is not the guy to lead them. And Jamie Vardy is getting older. He can't. So they're going to need to start making some replacements, and they're going to have to start making replacements that are a bit bolder and a bit bigger than they've made to this point, or they're going to have to find another Riyad Mahrez, a real diamond in the rough, because they need to improve on an aging squad.
We've already done our predictions for the O2, so we don't think Leicester are going to pull off this miracle, but do we think they're going to beat Tottenham, Tom?
Yeah, 100%. Spurs. 3-1 to Leicester.
I'm going to go for a Leicester win as well. I think it'll be a 2-1 Leicester City win. Well, that will bring us to a close. Very biased opinion, thanks. Thank you very much for sticking with us through this long and difficult season. We hope you've enjoyed our Premier League predictions. And thank you very much for continuing to support the channel. Give this video a like. If you like it, that thumbs up helps us so much. And hit that subscribe button, hit the notify bell if you want to be notified for any future videos. The Patreon option is there, as we talked about, but just keep watching the channel. We've still got some Champions League and Europa League stuff to come out, and then we're we're going to do some videos for the Euros as well. So again, thanks for your support. And for Thomas and myself, we'll see you soon.